got a funny story about we were playing Notre Dame. We flew back from to South Bend from Los Angeles, and it's an obvious big game that's in town. You know, the Trojans are playing Notre Dame, and so we go to the hotel, take our put on our traveling suits. We're walking around campus. There are two nuns on the other side of the street, and they obviously know who we are. You know, we're the Trojans in town to play against Notre Dame. So I'm thinking, you know, if I wave at the nuns, maybe I'll get some karma for the game next day. And so that's what I did. I waved at the nuns. Hey, how you guys doing? You know, we're going up to a Christian home in Greensboro, North Carolina. And the nuns flipped me off. So Tony, that's when I realized that that's a serious rivalry, man. You know, you're true story. I also want to just acknowledge all of the sponsors that participated in making this event happen. It's you know, you see all the food and the place where we are looking at this magnificent venue here, and you know, it just doesn't happen by magic. And we just so appreciate the heart and the care for the community of these brethren that are here today, these players from Centennial and Roosevelt, and just really appreciate the sponsors reaching out to make this event happen. Thank you very much. Coaches of influence. It was said earlier, just the impact that you have on the lives of these young kids. I can certainly attest to the impact that coaches that have, in my career, have had on my life. And so I just, you know, celebrate you and thank you for all of your commitment. If I could use a term that was sort of staged for the LA Raiders, you know, they were committed to excellence. And that's what you as coaches exude. And sometimes you may not get all of the credit that you deserve, but I think that is certainly recognizable when you look at the lives of the kids as they leave your purview and go on to develop into successful human beings, whether it be in the realm of sports or not. The impact that you have during these years is just vital. And so I applaud you for your commitment to excellence in that regard of the development of these young men. So thank you for that. And the players, thank you guys for being here. Thank you for your commitment to your craft, acknowledging the fact that the good Lord has given you skills, and He expects us to, you as well, to use those skills to the glory of God and to acknowledge Him in all of your ways, and He'll direct your path. And so as soon as you can get that thinking as a part of your regular activity, you will be amazed at the pathway that He will lead you on, but it starts right now. And what you're doing now in being involved in a team concept, working together with other guys to try to accomplish a goal, it's a fascinating place to learn, to have fun, to fellowship, to see end results, but not only that, you're developing some skills that you don't even recognize right now. And we'll talk about that a little bit later, but I just wanted to just acknowledge you for being here today, and hopefully something in the words that I'll share with you will just add to what you're already getting in your development. So thank you guys for being here as well. Nelson, good being with you again. You know, you get a little bit more handsome every time I see you. I don't know how that can be.
I have more face now.
Nelson and I have, we've been around the block on a couple of these events, and I was just honored that he thought enough of me to have me to come back out and to participate with you again. So just appreciate you doing what you do and being who you are. So, I want to just take a few moments to share with you a little bit of my story, but intertwining that story into the greatest story that's ever been told. And hey, I was born and raised in Greensboro, North Carolina. Had two outstanding parents. Lost my mother last year, June 30th. She was a absolute an angel for me in my life, and the things that she imputed into our upbringing was just, it'll be with me for the rest of my life. And I miss her dearly, and I'm thankful for the work that she imparted to my three other brothers. And then my father, my dad's still around. He's 88, he'll be 89 in October. But I was just very blessed and fortunate to have solid parents that gave us some principles, gave us some formats on how to do life. And it wasn't easy, but there were things that they told us, showed us, being that they were teachers. My dad was an assistant principal and also an industrial arts teacher. And my mother was a home economics teacher. So these two people in my household were my role models. We often think and we look at role models today being outside of our homes, be it a sports figure, be it a politician, be it a movie star. My parents were my role models. And the reason why I say that is because in the 35 years that they worked in the school districts in Greensboro, North Carolina, I can count on one hand the number of days that they missed from going to their job. So they were committed to excellence in their vocation. And that's what I saw from them every day. So quite naturally, when it was time for me as a young man to get a job, the thing that I thought about, which was one of my first jobs, was cutting grass. You know, and I'd go out with this neighbor friend of mine that lived up the street, and we would go into the neighborhoods and cut grass, and we'd do it every Saturday. And every Saturday, he would give me about $20 after cutting several lawns. $20 back in the 60s, man, was like, that was a lot of money. But what it taught me was that it taught me that if you worked hard, that there were benefits that you garnered from that work. And that just carried on to the next job that I went to. And I took those jobs very, very seriously. What do I mean by that? Showing up on time, doing what you were asked to do, trying not to complain about anything because you were fortunate enough to have a job. And those were some of the little benefits that were tenets that were being a part of my overall development. So as I got into sports, nothing changed. When I was in high school, I was one of the first guys on the field, one of the last guys off the field, because God had given me a talent. I wanted to work that talent the best that I could, to be the best that I could be. I wanted to honor my coaches because they were there for my best interest. I wasn't there for theirs. And I looked up to them. My high school coach, Clark Manzi, was next to my father. He was just an impactful image for me. He was my history teacher. He was also my head coach. And I just had the utmost of respect for him. And in high school, we were very successful because a lot of the guys had the same mindset that they wanted to go out and they wanted to play hard, not only for themselves, but for the coaches, because the coaches had put in all of that work in preparation to get them prepared for the games. We left it all out there on the field, and so all of that was a part and parcel of the training, and that's what you are in right now. You're in training, and it's not all about football. Football is the sport that you're in, but it's a bigger picture that's taking place. It's a much bigger picture, and what you do with this stage of your life now will determine how you will proceed later in life. The skills that you learn now, you'll be able to take those things into whatever vocation you decide to go in. And for me, as I was saying, football was sort of the thing that I wanted to be in. I dreamed about playing. I dreamed about being good. But it was not only just dreaming about it, it was going to make it happen. I would be late at night, I would run and just to make sure that I was in the best shape that I could be in. Because I wanted to be good. I wanted to really be good. And so I remember I was watching this game on television. I may have been maybe a junior or senior in high school, and there was this game on television. It was USC playing UCLA for a berth to go to the Rose Bowl. And SC was losing the game, and so they handed the ball to this pretty average running back at the time. I don't know if you remember. I think his name was O.J. Simpson. And O.J. makes this 64-yard run to win the game for USC. And I'm checking this run out. I'm checking out the enthusiasm of the crowd. And this beautiful Arabian white horse that was galloping around the Coliseum floor after he had made this run. So I told my dad, who was sitting next to me, I said, "Dad, that's the school I'm going to someday." And he looked at me about like y'all are looking at me right now. He said, "Boy, you done lost your mind." And I'm sure what he was thinking was, this boy has never been out. First of all, he's never been on a bus before. He's never been on an airplane, and he's never been out in the state of North Carolina. So he's talking about going, 3,000 miles away from home to go to USC. And you know what? I didn't know how it was going to happen because I'm a senior in high school. I got a few requests to go to colleges in the neighboring communities, but my heart and mind was set on going to USC. Fortunately, there were some friends of mine that were going to a local junior college in California called LA City College. And they had contacted me back in North Carolina saying, "Vince, man, you can make it out here." So I got that encouragement from them. There was one of the local recruiters there in Greensboro at our home. It was a big event in the household. Nobody never really got the scholarship before. And so he was there with the letter of intent for me to sign to go to his school. It was North Carolina Central, one of the local black colleges there in Durham, North Carolina. And he told us all the information about the school and how I would be a tremendous asset to the school. And I'm listening to all this, but in the back of my mind, I've got USC on my heart. And so he says, if you would sign right here, we could really make you happy. And so I said, "Sir, I really appreciate you, coming out and spending this Sunday afternoon, introducing your university to our family and to me. And but I'm going to decline your offer." And so after the gentleman had left, my dad really said, "Boy, you crazy." But what I did is I ventured out to the West Coast. I had a one-way ticket that my mother provided for me. I had $50, and I had a dream. And I came out to the West Coast. Didn't know anybody other than my homeboys that were already out here. Got enrolled in LA City College. Played there. I wasn't a starter right away. got an opportunity to play, and we were able to go all the way to the all-time great Potato Bowl. You know, and went up to Bakersfield. There were many scouts that were there after that game was over. And one scout in particular came up to me from USC and said, "Vince, we would love for you to come to our university." And so, man, that was like a boyhood dream come true. Because, you know, you take a kid who was, you know, visually looking at this run on television, and now he's got a dream in his heart, not knowing how all of this is going to become a reality. And so I'm sharing that with you guys today because I want you to understand that you've got some things that you're thinking about, some things you're dreaming about, and maybe you've not told anybody about them. Or maybe you're afraid that people are going to say, maybe your homie's going to say, "Man, you know, you're crazy. Yeah, that'll never happen." There's going to always be voices that are going to be in your head that will try to deter you from being and doing that which God, that maybe you don't even think that it's God doing it, but it's something that you feel very, very strongly about. And I'm saying capture those moments. Feed on those moments. Because those are stepping stones for God that He uses to take you to your destination that you don't even know where it's going. And so you have to learn to hear that still small voice, if you will. And that was the voice that I heard, you know, as a young kid, that, you know, I'm going out here to the West Coast and didn't know what was going to happen from that point. But I went to LA City. USC picks me up after that game in Bakersfield, and go on and play there at USC behind, when I first got there, Pat Hayden, he was the quarterback, and learned a lot from him. I then got an opportunity to play, and we weren't successful my junior year. Matter of fact, we were 8-4, and that was considered a losing season by SC standards. There were some trials, a lot of trials that I was facing during that time. You know, being an African-American quarterback at USC was something that in the history of the school, they'd only had 2. And so I used to get mail. I used to get hate mail. That was not saying, "Vince, we're loving that you're here." You know, it was just the opposite of that. But, and so again, it's how you deal with adversity. That's the key. It's what's your mindset. Are you going to let it, you know, fester in your heart? Or are you going to keep your focus, your gaze on what you're there for? And remember that there's an ultimate plan that's being directed for your life, and obstacles are part of that. Obstacles are, you know, things that come. And I can say this now because I'm older. I've experienced so many different obstacles, both in sports and business and family and in a lot of different ways. And I welcome them now. I never ever thought that I would say that in my life. But I know that the obstacles are tools that God uses to actually shape us and to mold us into the image of His Son. And we don't like them. Nobody does. Nobody likes hard times. Nobody likes negative things to accompany us in our lives. Nobody. But when you think about whose you are, why you're here, and what the ultimate plan is, you begin to change your perspective that, you know, God has a more meaningful purpose for the things that you're going through. While you're going through them, it's tough. It's tough. But if you can just say, "Lord, I do not understand why this is happening, but I know that you have a greater purpose and a greater plan," that gives you a comfort level, not always right away, because it's a process and it's over a period of time that you understand that these things are working out for your good. And so even though some critics said that I couldn't, my junior year, throw a football in the Grand Canyon if I was standing on the edge of it, you know, that didn't stop me from working hard And, I got me a new offensive coordinator my senior year, and we worked. I used to go out to his house, and we just worked on my footwork, my delivery, and all the things that could make me a better quarterback. And then we came my senior year, and lost our first game, but we won the rest of our games. We were 12-1, won the Rose Bowl. Go and play in the National Football League for 15 years, 2 years in the United States Football League. And if you would have said to me when I was growing up in Greensboro that was the pathway that I was going to take I would have said, man, you're crazy. And it's blown my mind to see the things and the pathway that God has put me on. And but that's not the most important thing that happened to me. The most important thing that happened to me was we were playing the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and down in Tampa. Prior to that, I should say that what I thought was that, if you ever got to play in the National Football League, that was just a feat that was incredible. First of all, I was making more money than I'd ever made before. I had more recognition than I'd ever had before. And so it was humbling, but it was also kind of prideful, because, there were people that were, kind of acknowledging me in ways that I'd never been acknowledged before. I mean, I just played sports, and, people, they like to lift up stars. And if you don't have the proper grounding, it can make you feel like you're better than you really are. And because, it's not real. And I understand that they're only appreciating the thing that you're doing, but sometimes when you're not grounded, you can start to think that your stuff is really special, and real special, to where you're thinking more highly of yourself than you ought to. And I've seen far too many players and people that have gone down that road, and I went down that road. And so in '79, we're playing the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and I'm scrambling around trying to make a play, and this guy sort of nicked me on the arm. Didn't think anything of it. Those things happen in the course of battle. The game's over, come back in the locker room, show the doctor the scratch that I had on my arm, put some antiseptic on it, we fly back to Chicago. Get back to Chicago, in my apartment, got to get up and go to the bathroom. It's late in the night, and I can't move. Literally, my lower extremities were paralyzed. And so I was able to maneuver myself out of the bed and kind of crawl to the bathroom. And then did that, and then got back to the phone. I said, hey, I called some friends of mine up and asked them if they could come over. And they did. They took me to the hospital. Long story made short, after several different tests, the doctors diagnosed me as having a staph infection. Characteristic of a staph infection is that it attacks the weakest tissues in the body, so it conceivably could have gone a number of different places. For me, fortunately, it lodged in the sacroiliac joint, 2 joints in the back area, and I was in the hospital for a month. I'd never been in the hospital over a couple of hours, just visiting people that were there, and so while I was there, it was an opportunity to think about my life, think about who I was as a person, what my life was all about. The very thing that I loved and epitomized was seemingly being taken away from me, and so you start to ask questions, and that's what I was in a place of doing. Just asking questions. God, notice, I'm talking to God, but I ain't got no relationship with him. You see, and so I'm saying, God, why did you let this happen to me? And there was no answers. And fortunately, the doctors and just the beautiful care that I got from the doctors and the nurses there at Lake Forest Hospital, they were able to feed me intravenously with antibiotics, and the antibiotics ended up taking the staph infection out. But my legs had atrophied, so I had to learn how to walk again. I was so weak, and the very thing that I sort of lifted up as, my mantle of esteem was my body, because this body was what people held, that when I was out there on the field, that was what everybody sort of looked to. Now that was being taken away from me. So I'm really starting to get a little bit deeper into, okay, what's going on? What's my life really all about? Okay? And but I didn't get any answers right away. So, and I would have classified myself as being a religious guy. There's a difference between religion. If you look at the major universities, which it used to be that years ago, they had departments of divinity. Departments of divinity. That is the study of God. Now, they have departments of religion, which is the study of man. So we become a man-centered society as opposed to a God-centered society. And I was a man-centered guy because for me to have God in my life, it was predicated on my terms. Let me go out and have a good game. Let me not get this girl pregnant. Let me not, whatever. You fill in the blanks. Okay? God wasn't playing that with me. And so I'm home, recuperating from my stay in the hospital, and I'm watching this program on television. And this pastor, mind you, I grew up in a Christian home. I went to church every Sunday, right? That's what I'm saying. I would have, if you'd have asked me, like if you asked 95% of the people in the United States if they're Christian, they would say yes. I'm a good person. I do good things. And that's what I classify myself as. I'm in my apartment in Chicago. It's a very gloomy day. Doesn't seem like the sun is going to come out at all. It's the winter time. And very cloudy. And I'm sitting in my apartment, I'm watching this television, and there's this pastor on, which I had engaged in looking at Christian television many times. But this time it was different. That's my phone, I apologize. But when this pastor said that Jesus Christ had died for my sins, I started weeping just like a baby. And even now, after all of these years, I feel his spirit verifying that he's in me. And when I said to him, I said, if you're real, I just want you to do something. I didn't know what he was supposed to do. All I knew is I meant business. I had what I thought the world says will give you success. I had notoriety. I had all of that. I tried that. And, in many ways, it was like Solomon. If you read the book of Ecclesiastes, man, and you see this guy thirsting for life. He's thirsting for, what is it all about? Is it about drinking? Is it about women? Is it about glory? Is it about money? Is it about houses? Is it about gardens? Is this what it's all about? And he went after it. He went after it with all of his heart. And you know what he said at the end of it all? He said it's like chasing the wind. You try to grab it and it's nothing there. You try to get fame, you get it, but it's nothing there. You try to get money, it's nothing there. And that's what I tried. There was nothing there. I was talking to a good friend of mine recently who's been a very successful coach in the National Football League for a long time. And he was just telling me some of the horror stories, man. I mean, if I mention some of the names of these guys that he basically had to babysit because they were superstars, but maybe he had to pay off the girl because, you know, the guy raped her, or a guy was on drugs and he had to take him to a place where he could get cleaned up. The stories go on and on and on and on and on. And I don't want to, you know, but you can get the picture. You can use your imagination, and you probably wouldn't be far from some of the things that happened. Why? Why did they happen? They happened because of a void. There's a God-shaped void in every human being's heart that's ever been born. And what we do with that void is we try to fill it with everything, with fame, with money, with sex, with power, with influence. The problem is you exhaust yourselves in an exercise in futility. And that's what I did. And that's why I said to God, I said, if you're real, I need you to come in and do something. And all I can tell you is that day, man, in Easter of 1979, I called out to God. And something happened. Something changed. What changed? It was His Spirit. His Spirit came into my heart for real. I used to cuss like a sailor because when you're playing football, you know, the bravado, you know, like machoism, and you're trying to put on this image like you're tough and you're the man, and all of that. I know it. I've been around. I've seen it, and it's nothing there. It's fake. It's false. It's intimidating, and it doesn't work. Because inwardly, your heart is bankrupt. And you need God to come in, and that's what He did in me, is He changed my heart, which changed my thinking, which changed my mouth, which changed everything about me. And this is why I'm here, is to share with you that Jesus Christ